Viewers, I'll speak about how can you secure access to public fund. Public fund is very important for everyone's life, whether you are a British citizen or whether you are on limited leave to remain application. However, majority of applicants who have limited leave to remain in the UK, they don't have access to public fund and they suffer a loss in their life, especially until you get independent leave to remain. You will not get any public funds. So there are certain circumstances you can secure access to public fund, and that's what I did for one of my clients, and I just want to share with you guys so that you can secure it for your life, because I know a lot of family with children and it is very difficult to live in the UK some circumstances without access to public fund. What, for example, right now the people lose their job and they don't have any money to pay rent. Now they need access to public fund, but unfortunately they cannot because their BRP condition that no recourse to public fund. So it is vitally important when you apply, you must request the Home Office and apply for access to public fund with supporting document, and you will get it. That's what happened. So last February, 4th of February, I made an application for my client, and I request the Home Office to give him access to public fund with supporting evidence. He's a single dad with 3 children, and I find myself this gentleman was a destitute and very vulnerable person. So I ask my client to bring some supporting evidence, and I tell him what the evidences we need to establish that he is a destitute person, and he brought all this paper, and then I submit the application with a request to access to public fund, and Home Office gave the decision within less than 2 months and give him access to public fund. That's what the good news, and I just want to share you. Look at this, the letter I received. Well, the decision was made 31st of March 2020. I made the application 4th February 2020. This is my initial essay. What is my client reference number, Suhail Ahmed, and this is the firm I work for, Excellent Solicitor. And so we applied for limited leave to remain on the basis of my client family and private life in the UK. So they give him 30-month visa, and look at this, the reason: grant of leave to remain 10 years per route, and this is the where they give him public fund. Now the term public fund defined in the paragraph 6 of the immigration rules. So I'll have a look. I'll show you what is the public fund is, and this is the line they wrote. Look at this: you have been granted limited leave to remain with access to public funds. That means his biometric resident permit will not show a restriction preventing him to accessing public fund. What you have normally in your BRP, you will see no recourse to public fund, but he will not have any restriction, and he will able to get all kinds of benefit, including housing benefit, child tax credit, working tax credit, universal credit, employment support allowance, child benefit, all kinds of benefit he will able to get. Now this gentleman, 10 years he will get benefit, because if you not get access to public fund, that means 10 years he will not get any benefit, and now he will get benefit. If he even work full time, he will get at least £1,200 for his 3 children, and that means by 10 years he will get more than £180,000 public fund. I don't suggest you to just dependent on a public fund. However, certain circumstances is very vital to survive. You need, especially those who have a family, you need support from the public fund. For example, right now a lot of people, outbreak of coronavirus, a lot of people have lost their job, and they need this help from the government. So it is vitally important. So I'll tell you how actually you need to secure access to public fund. Like this gentleman, what he get access to public fund, So you can do as well, especially following the decision of a case law, which is Lebanon versus the Home Secretary, MA Lebanon versus Home Secretary. There was a guidelines which adopted the Home Office from February, the best interest of the child, and therefore those who, especially for those family I'm talking about, those who have children or who have one child at least, you can when you apply for leave to remain application, you can request the Home Office to give you access to the public fund with all kinds of supporting evidence. Now, if you can establish that you need access to public fund because you are a vulnerable person, or you're destitute, or you will be destitute, in that case the Home Office will give you access to public fund. So this is a security for you and for your family life. Now, what is actually public fund means? If you go to this is in immigration rules paragraph 6, you will see definition of public fund. This is the definition of public fund means housing benefit. You'll see the housing benefit, disability benefit, attendant allowance, social security benefit, child benefit, and child tax credit, working tax credit, universal credit, any other than any other discretionary support or any discretionary payment. All these are public fund. Public fund actually is a very broad sense. So all kinds of public funds, what you will cover by this definition, you will be able to entitle from the government or local authority or the HMRC if you get the access to public fund. So therefore, I want to tell you when you apply for the first application or even subsequent any extension, you must ensure that you explain to the Home Office your circumstances, and you must provide evidence of your supporting your circumstances. So what happened to my client, I find myself, this gentleman is a destitute person and vulnerable, so I asked him, okay, let's bring this evidence for me. So he approached to the community from family and relatives, and I tell him what types of evidence we need, and he prepare all this, bring for me. I submit the application and with all this supporting evidence, and the caseworker was very generous and show the sympathy to my client, and he gave him access to public fund. And I want to tell you, all of you, when we apply for the for extension or leave to remain application, you can take this advantage from the Home Office and the government, because sometimes it requires for every family. I know a lot of my relatives and client, I know how difficult for them, especially with a family and children, without public funding, need to pay rent, food, accommodation, everything, plus every 2.5 years they need to extend their visa, and they need a huge amount of money to pay the Home Office fee and an NHS fee. By the way, for my client who I got the access to public fund, he also he will not need to pay any NHS fee in future. And even this application, he didn't pay the NHS fee, because I request the Home Office for remission NHS fee and they accept it. So a lot of people, even they cannot apply for visa because they cannot manage to pay the Home Office fee and NHS fee. But really, you can try. There is a way you can apply to the Home Office for fee waiver or the remission of the NHS fee, and the Home Office is granted. A lot of application in my hands, and this gentleman is the example what I show you. He didn't pay any Home Office fee, he didn't pay any NHS fee, and he got as well the public access to public funds. So when you apply, make sure if you need help from the government for remission fees, for NHS fee or remission of Home Office fee, you can apply in advance. And when you submit your application, if you think you are a destitute person, you can apply to the Home Office to give you to access to the public funds. I hope this video will help you. Speak to your solicitor when you apply, whoever your solicitor or advisor, tell them that I need help, can you apply, request the Home Office for access to public funds, or if you need any fee remission, or if you cannot pay the NHS fee, tell your advisor to made an fee remission application in the earliest opportunity. Don't go to the last minute, because if you apply for NHS fee remission or home office fee remission, you need to apply at least a month earlier, so that the decision come from the home office before your visa expired. And you can request the home office for access to public fund the time you submit your application to the home office with supporting evidence. Thank you. Bye for today.